And now, please welcome to the stage Rick Chandler. Rick.
Thank you. About 9 years ago, I was working late, walking down the hall, and there was a little 4-year-old boy reading a book upside down. I said, "What are you doing?" He looked at me and didn't say anything. It's 6:30 at night. I said, "Is it good?" He still didn't say anything. Then down the hall, I heard his mother yell, "UK, answer the man." He turned to his mother and said, "Mommy, you told me not to talk to strangers, and that man seems very strange." So I introduced myself, and we turned the book over and read Dr. Seuss. And that became our pattern over the next year or so. You see, the next day, I brought in 4 books for Mom to give to her son. And she came down and asked me, "Why did you do that?" I said I needed some good karma points. And she was just about as skeptical as you all. But the truth was, I love books. I love reading. I had struggled to read, and my mother proved that when you learn, you earn. So she brought books into our house, and she rewarded us when we read. When my kids struggled, we did the same thing. We turned off the TV every night. We would read to each other. We would read aloud. When their friends came over for sleepovers, they had to bring a book because in our house we read. And then after they read, we'd go out and get ice cream. And as you can see, my kids have read a lot of books. So just about every month, Ure, Mom, had to work late. She was an accountant, and they had to close the books. She was a single mother, no one to watch her son, so she'd bring him to work. And I started to really look forward to this. I would bring in kids' books, Dr. Seuss, chapter books, and we would read. And she was still pretty skeptical, and she would ask me, why was I doing this? And we would get to talking, and I learned that she had been born in the U.S. but raised in Nigeria, that she was divorced, and that her mother lived with her. And this went on for about a year until UK turned 5, and he asked to invite me to his birthday party. Well, 50-year-old men shouldn't go to 5-year-old birthday parties. That's a little creepy. But I did start going over and bringing books. And that became our thing. We would read together, we would go to Barnes & Noble, and we would get ice cream. And this went on for years. And then finally, Ure asked the question again. "Why are you doing this?" "Somebody at work said you're just doing this to get in my pants." So I slipped my arm around her mom and said, "Not yours." That broke the ice. But the truth was, there's nothing more magical than watching a kid learn to read, the power of books. There's nothing better. So this went on. One day we had gone to Barnes & Noble, and UK went running out in the street. And I screamed at him, "What the hell are you doing? You can't run out in the street like that. You do that again, I'll put my foot so far up your butt, you'll see Nike on the back of your eyeballs." What am I doing yelling at someone else's kid? I can't do that. I turned to Mom, her lip was quivering, and she gave me the nod. Because she knows that sometimes a young boy will listen to a friend a lot more than he'll listen to Mom. Well, time went by and I moved away. And I would still come back to Richmond, Virginia, where we lived, and we would go do things. And UK had graduated from the 5th grade. Big deal. We're going to go out and really celebrate. So we're going to go to the amusement park, Busch Gardens. And the next day, his friends would come over to the hotel I was staying at, Marriott, drive all the other people crazy, jump into the pool. And that night, we were either going to watch the movie Jumper or have a rap battle starring T.I. versus Bo's team. So before the amusement park, I went over for breakfast, and as we're sitting there, just eating our breakfast, UK said it. He said, "White people are better than black people." Silence. What do you say to that? If it's my kids, you smack them upside the head, but you can't do that to a young black kid. I didn't know what to say. Mom didn't know what to say. What do you do? Honestly, I don't remember what happened at the amusement park. I don't remember the next day. We did that stuff, but I was in shock. I'm still in shock. As I said, I'd gone back to Richmond, and some friends from work were going out. And as I'm sitting there, I talked to Jay. Jay's black. I said, "Hey, can I get some advice from you?" We're buddies. Jay had actually recommended me for one of the jobs I'd gotten. And I told him the story, but he already knew it. And he said, "You just don't understand." He said, "My son might feel that way. He wouldn't say those things, but he might feel that way. You just don't understand how that pressure comes down every day." Later, I went back to Kansas City. I was in a cigar shop. I enjoy cigars. And one of the guys around the TV was saying, Black Lives Matters? That's bullshit. White lives matter too. I turned to him and said, yeah, dude, but you hear that every day. I know an 11-year-old boy who doesn't hear it enough. So Karma, I had started reading to UK so that my kid, this great kid, could learn about books. But in the end, he was the one who taught me a lesson that maybe things weren't as great as I had hoped they would be.